Hello everyone, welcome back to week 7 of learning C with the help of examples. In this week, we are going to start with while loops and do while loops. Okay, so in the last week, we have seen various programs related to for loops. So let's begin with while loop in this week. So the first task that we are going to see is to find the LCM and GCD of two given numbers with the help of a while loop. Okay, so let's begin. Now to find the LCD and GCM, I will just look at the hint as to what the hint says. Now what is the meaning of GCD? Okay, so what the user has to do is, sorry, the programmer has to do is, the user will be entering two numbers a and b. Okay, and you have to find the GCD of those two numbers, right? And GCD is nothing but the largest number. Obviously it should not be greater than a and b. That means any number from 1 to 1 to a number which is less than or equal to a and b, and is also divisible by both a and b. Such a number will be called as a GCD. Okay, so basically when we run the while loop, we have to take care that the number that we are checking is not greater than a or b, right? It has to be less than a and b. Also, whatever is the number that we select as the GCD, that should be able to divide both a and b completely. Okay, so let's see how to find out GCD. Once we have the GCD, LCM is pretty simple. You just have to use this formula to find the LCM. Okay, so let's start with GCD. So as you know, we need two variables to store a and b. So let's take those variables first, a and b. Then we need to find GCD, right, and LCM, right? So I have declared four variables, a, b, c, GCD and LCM, right? So out of this a and b, I have to take the input from the user, right? So before that, I will just tell the user what this program is all about. So it's a LCM and GCD finder. After that, I'm going to do scanf for a, right, ampersand a, and just to tell the user what the scanf is. So enter a, right? And once this is done, I will just copy these two lines and I will make the same thing for b, right? So we have entered two numbers a and b. Now to find the GCD, you have to you have to keep on checking all the numbers from 1 to 1. It is divisible by 1, right? So we have to keep on checking from 1 till any number which is not greater than a and b, right? So our condition, let's because we have to use while loop over here, so we will start something like this. So the while loop starts something like this, right? So the while loop has the condition, the first bracket is for the condition, right? And the second braces is for the body of the while loop. Okay, it's almost similar to the for loop. Only thing is, it's a stripped down version of for loop, right? The while loop has only the condition part. Okay, so inside this we have to put a condition whenever that condition is true, this loop will be executed again and again, right? And as soon as the condition is false, this loop will be terminated, right? Now our first step would be to find out what should be the condition. Okay, so condition, we already know what is the condition. So condition is that a number should, whatever is the number, that should not be greater than a and b, right? So we have to take care that it is not greater, right? So first of all, we have to have a variable which is going to increment from 1 till a number which is less than a and b, right? So let's take that number as I. Okay, let's start from 1. Let's let the value of I start from 1, right? Now and I'm going to increment it every time when the loop gets over, right? So once this loop is complete, okay, that means it has reached the last line, I would do an I plus plus, right? So that means after in every iteration the value of I is going to increment, right? And now the condition should be such that the value of I should be always less than or equal to a, right? It should be less than or equal to a, and it should also be less than equal to b, right? So this condition has to be satisfied. That is what is written over here. Okay, so it is written, it should, largest number should be which is not greater than a and b, right? That means if it is not greater than, that means it should be less than or equal to a, right? So I'm checking all the numbers from I equal to 1 till when the this condition is false, right? So what will be the first iteration? So the first iteration will be for I equal to 1, right? So let us say that the user enters over here, let's say he enters 4, and here he enters let's say 8. Okay, so a is 4 and b is 8. So here it is 4, this is 8. So I starts from 1. So is 1 less than equal to a, less than equal to 4? Yes, correct. And is 1 less than equal to 8? Yes, that is also correct. So that means this condition is true, right? So since this while loop is true, this entire statement, whatever is there, it will be executed again, right? And the only statement currently that is there is your I plus plus, right? So the I value will be incremented, right? So the next iteration I will be become 2, right? So when it becomes 2, it will again check 2 less than 4 and 2 less than 8. Okay, so both of them are true, so this while loop is true and it will execute again, right? Similarly happens for I equal to 3 and I equal to 4, right? So when it's I equal to 4, 4 less than equal to 4 and 4 less than equal to 8, still it is true, right? In the next iteration, when I is equal to 5, what happens is this becomes 5 and this is 4, right? So this is false and this is true, because 5 less than 8 is true. That means one of them is false. So and will always be true only if both of them are true, right? That means if one of them is false, this entire loop gets terminated, right? So it comes out. Okay, so that is what we have to see, right? Once we understand the loop, now what we have to do is we have to find out the GCD, right? So GCD is nothing but we will call this number I as the GCD if and only if I can divide a and b both, right? So let's say a mod I equal to 0 and b mod I equal to 0. If both of them are true, that means a I can divide a as well as b, then that means it may be the GCD, right? So let's make the GCD equal to GCD be equal to I, right? So once that means let's say in the first iteration I is equal to 1, right? So I always remember I is at the first iteration it is 1. Let's suppose A is 4, B is 8, right? So it both of them are less, so it will come over here. Now 4 divided by 4 mod 1 is going to be 0. Similarly 8 mod 1 is going to be 0. That means all the numbers are divisible by 1, right? So GCD will always start with 1, right? But that doesn't mean that is the GCD, right? So now what happens is next value of I will be checked, right? So what is happening over here is, if you look at the statement, this statement is very important. Okay, so it is not sufficient that it is divisible by both A and B. It should also be the largest number, right? So for that, what we are going to do is we are going to continue our search and find out if any other number is there which is also able to divide both of the numbers, right? So next we are going to check for 2. So if we check for 2, 4 mod 2 is 0 and 8 mod 2 is also 0, right? That means GCD will now be instead of 1, now it will be 2, right? So still we have not checked all the numbers, right? So next we are going to check for 3. Okay, now when I check for 3, it is not divisible, so this if statement will not execute, right? Then I will check for 4. When I check for 4, 4 mod 4 is 0, right? And 8 mod 4 is also 0, right? That means now the GCD will be 4, right? And after this, then I'm going to increment again I, and this now I will become 5. Okay, but as soon as I becomes 5, 5 is less than equal to A, so this while loop will stop over here, right? So after this the while loop stops, and you can see we have found the GCD. The largest number is 4, which is able to divide both A and B, right? So now the only job left is just to come out of the loop and just print the GCD, right? I will just write GCD is equal to %D and GCD, right? So let's test it out. Okay, so I just added these numbers for demonstration. I will run it again, and let's say 4 and 8, you can see the GCD is 4. Perfect. Okay, let's take a prime number 7 and 11, and since prime numbers are not divisible by any other number, the GCD will be 1, right? So greatest common divisor will be 1, right? Okay, so once we have done this, the next step is very easy. To find the LCM, the formula that we are going to follow is A multiplied by B, and then I am going to simply divide by GCD. That's it. Okay, so once this is done, I can simply just print LCM like we have printed GCD. Okay, and here it should become LCM, right? And just so that GCD is printed on a new line, LCM is printed on a new line, I've just added a \n. Okay, just let's run it again, and let's take 4 and 8. You can see the LCM is 8, GCD is 4. If I run again, let's say 7 and 11, you can see 77 is the LCM and GCD is 1. Okay, I hope you have understood this program. We will see you in the next task.